25,000 rupees, if that's your income, you are in the, or more, you are in the top 10% of this country. Imagine that. What is the halat of the rest of the country? That informal sector. Because even nowadays, there is a, we have to talk about various things. I will talk about certain, might be sound political for some people. The organization that I work for and I represent is called National Hawker Federation, nationwide federation of unions, and we are in all the states. We are in 28 states. We are a big federation of 1300 plus unions. I've written plus because we are always changing every day. So we can't give the exact number there, but right now we are 1300 plus, and 11 central trade unions, which is like other trade unions who are also operating nationally or centrally or regionally, like Western region or Central region. So that's about National Hawkers Federation, which works for the rights and livelihood of street vendors. And I am in that organization, the convener, the sort of coordinator for Gujarat state. So what we do is we advocate for the rights of livelihood, as I said, of street vendors. And now that we have an act which has come after a long 50 years movement from other people, my seniors, if we have a chance, maybe we'll do that story on WishwaTalks as well. How did the law come? But which is a fascinating 50-year-old movement. It took 50 years to bring this act where it recognizes street vendors as legal. So now street vendors, after this act, are considered legal. And the full name of the act is actually Street Vendors Act 2014. And then in the bracket it says Right to Livelihood, Protection of Livelihood and Regulation. So protection of livelihood in the act was given a priority, and that is the best part of this act. Now we are working to implement this act with various state governments, urban local bodies, because most of the time we have to deal with municipalities and municipal corporations, and even in smaller towns with Nagarpalika. So with the micro of that, and then state governments and then central government. So that's what we work on as National Hawker Federation. We don't have much of a NGO format, our organization. So it is quite fluid because we also work on the narrative, which is what part of my work. What I'm doing with all of you is trying to change the narrative, like what we think about street vendors, and trying to bring it into a place where they are a part of our life, but we are not really in touch with what their life is like. So that is what I'm trying to, we are trying to create through the movement, is in various levels. Like with government, it's a different kind of talk. With lay people, Aam Janta, it's a very different kind of talk where we just want, because all of us are actually customers for street vendors. In India, actually in Asian countries, even African and South American countries, these three continents are highly dependent on street vendors. It's not just a India phenomenon, it's everywhere. It's only in the Western world where they have done away with street vending more of. Now they like it. Now the farmers market, so-called, and type of vending culture is coming in, but it's highly organized. While our organization actually talks about, even I feel that, an unorganized actually way of street vending is much better. So that is such a interesting view if you think about it, because everybody talks about let's organize things. We are talking about let it be unorganized. And why is what we are going to see. For what reason, or I'll try to make a case for why it should still remain unorganized but regulated. So they are such an everyday part of our city life, right? This is a city phenomenon. It's an urban phenomenon. Though rural street vendors are also there. And in India, we also have a special category, which is railway street vendors. So that is also there. We might have even taken them for granted uh, might not have. A lot of us might even connect to them, except maybe when we blame for this is a general thing that they are encroaching streets, they are reason for unclean places, they are reason for traffic. This kind of attitude is prevalent in our society. So that's a background where we keep seeing constantly the state, I mean, by state I mean the government constant state constantly keeps evicting the street vendors, taking away their saman, taking away their goods, and confiscating it, sometimes beating them, sometimes throwing their goods away. uh, जो भी उनका लारी होता है, the lari that they have, a vending cart, or because there are types of street vendors also. There are stationary street vendors, there are mobile street vendors, and there's a huge category in that definition is quite wide. So in that category, there are many kinds of things that the vendors have to face, especially from the state government, state and the police also sometimes have a issue with them. There is hafta baji, which all of us know in India, which is like collecting some money from people to, some kind of an extortion thing. So that all is prevalent, amidst which this law has come, and now this law has to undo all of these things, which is what we are working for. So that's why we become the extension and voice for street vendors. People like me who are not street vendors. Most of our organization actually is made of street vendors. There are very few people like me who are not street vendors. We are completely a democratic setup of street vendors because these are street vending unions that are with us. So we help people make those unions wherever. Generally it starts with somebody having some place having an issue where they are being evicted and we are called. Then we go there, uh, we help them out because they have rights. They don't know the law that they have rights and they actually are legally valid. Most of the times in Gujarat, the scene is they have licenses, they are still being evicted. They have the license and the right legally to stand there, but they are still evicted. They're and that eviction is quite it's unceremonious. It's very rude. There is no notice. Most of the time, 99% of the times, there is never a notice because the attitude is such that people, the government especially, thinks that the street vendors, the people in the government think that the street vendors are some kind of a separate class of people who may not need the, like they're not equal to us, that kind of a feeling, right? A superiority feeling from the state as well as their own customers still exists, that every day we buy from them, but if they're still lower in the food chain from us in the social order of things. So that really hurts even street vendors own identity, which is one of the core things we work on with street vendors. We work on their own identity. It's so important what you think about yourself. Now imagine, this is the very very core part of my talk with you, is as a street vendor feeling illegal as a person. Like what you do is illegal, but you have to do it because it puts food on the plate. And you have no place. You just come on the road somewhere where you could socially sort of organize it, pay whoever needs to be paid money so that you can stand there, you can sit there, put a blanket or stand and vend and sell something so that you can have food on the table, sustenance of your own. So we always say, why do people street vend? How do these people come on the road? It is an outcome of unemployment. And therefore, you will see that more in developing countries or underdeveloped countries, that this is the natural outcome if there is less employment. And that is the whole science of it. Because if this is not there, in India, say, like you'll just, the last option for a person is to come on the street and sell bananas. Why do somebody does that? Is clearly because they don't have any kind of other job. And if you talk to them, and when we do case studies, which we have done from 30 years, you can clearly see a narrative of, I had no option, I had to do this. That's when they first started. But they are so enterprising that they find the finance for it. They find the where to buy the goods and how to sell it, where the market is, where the need is, where the demand is. All of this, the street vendors, it's their own enterprise, right? No, the beggars are not included in the thing. But we'll take that later. Sorry, I started reading the question, but yeah, I'll address that. Um, Street vendors have to do some kind of business. So the definition again is that they have to sell a good or a service. They have to give some kinds of goods. Mostly it's a good service. I'm also saying like your cycle repair guy, your some tailors are on the road, your bag repair guy, chain jo banate hain, chain of your bags and all of these things. Their services that street vendors give on roadside. So that is there. Um, I was talking about how I do people come to vend. So when there is some kind of a poverty level, people automatically come to street vending because that is the last option. Otherwise, they will have to either become criminals or, very seriously, the other option is suicide. This is what people tell us, that either we can die or we'll have to become criminals or we'll have to come on the road and sell something. That is how most people have started street vending. And therefore, we want to voice their concerns and who these people are. And you'll be surprised what a amazing, wonderful system people have created from their problems. Instead of being a negative idea, they are an extremely positive force, and we're going to see the numbers as we go forward. So I asked you in the start, what is your experience of and views of street vendors, which you please write in the chat. Continue doing that. This is just a request again. What do you think? From whatever I said, what do you think? What have you known? You must have talked to some street vendors when you're in your interaction. So, what do you think about street vendors, or some vendor that you are in touch with, or have a good relationship with, or bad experiences with? Then you please write that. And what is your idea of street vending? So, we are taking a stand that the street vendors are actually a quintessential part of this Indian economy. I'm going to talk about India, but this actually applies to the world as well. But in India, we have done research on it and we have data on these things, which is primarily 3-4 organizations, including ours, that is National Hawkers Federation. Our organization, this 4 crore street vendor number, the government doesn't accept. Since 2001, government has been saying there are 1 crore members, even 1 crore street vendors. Even today, the government is saying there are 1 crore street vendors. But that's not true. I can give you citations for these things. Later on, I can share that with Vishwa and you can, WishwaTalks, and you can take that citations. The calculation of 4 crore street vendors comes from the urban street vendors plus the rural and the highway street vendors plus the railway street vendors. So the railway street vendors are around like 80 lakh. 1.5-ish crore are in rural and highways, and 2 crore are in the urban areas. So that is our calculation estimates from various researches from various people in particular areas. Ironically, in one place, the official numbers of our government doesn't accept 1 crore street vendors, but in the law, they themselves have given 2.5% of the population. So 2.5% of urban population in itself is above 2 crores. So that is already a difference in numbers. But why do we have street vending and why should we support it? Yes, they do pay taxes. That is a huge also a number. Urban poverty alleviation is that this has been accepted by United Nations. This has been accepted by every possible nation, that street vending actually reduces poverty. It is a genuine way where people can actually do an enterprise and solve their financial issues. Imagine from this vending, you can see around yourself how many families are able to send their children to school, are able to afford healthcare. They still go to civil hospital, but they have some money to deal with it. So in India, according to the census, one family average is 4.9 people. We've rounded off to 5. So 20 crore people at least have their daily sustenance based on street vending income. That's a huge number because we are around 140 crore people approaching 150 crore. But 20 crore is a big, big group of people in urban areas largely who are completely dependent on street vending income for their life and their needs. And that is why we are saying it's a quintessential part of the Indian economy. And more so, which I said in the short video, if you had seen that, what is the structure of Indian economy? It is informal, right? Because all the data till date says 90% of workforce is informal. For those who don't know what informal means, it means they don't have a formal contract, they don't have a formal job, not like me and you. Even I don't have a formal job. Actually, I'm part of the informal economy. And uh, the formal jobs have particular requirements and they have some kind of safety, while informal jobs are, it can end tomorrow. You can fire anybody anytime, you can hire anybody anytime, largely unregulated. And on top of that, the most recent report, this is the most recent report on the second line that I've said, it comes from the PM's office directly, that if you earn 25,000 income as a personal income, private income, not family income, then you are in the top 10% of this country's earners. Imagine that what is the halat of the rest of the country, that informal sector. Because even nowadays, we have to talk about various things. I will talk about certain, might be sound political for some people, but since last 15 years, we've not really focused on the rural side in the media. All the news we are seeing, it's all urban, 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 urban. Still 63-64% of this country lives in the rural areas. So actually their income and their lifestyle is not significantly improving in sense of finance. But that's a whole different topic, because that is the point of our work, is what is improvement or what is development? Is it money or is it something else? So financially, this is the scenario right now, which even the state accepts. And this informal sector is actually giving all the lower income people the service of buying everything from Apple to furniture. Like, you must have seen people selling furniture on the side of the road, some kind of bamboo furniture on highways or particular areas, even crockery. From low income people get everything like clothing, your daily essentials of plastic products, vessels, utensils, everything street vendors sell. And the low and middle income houses actually are able to afford these things from the street vendors. Like, till date, particular things in my kitchen are coming from street vendors only, like balan and particular utensils that we use in the kitchen are always bought from street vendors. And there are many systems, and they're so diverse in every place. Like, street vendors as a term was so hard to form because everywhere they're called different. Like, in the east part of India, they're called hawkers. In Gujarat, they're called lariwala, patharawala. Then there's a difference in that. Patharawala are the people who spread a blanket and sit, and lariwala have a vending cart. Then on the north of India, it's called redi patri. So south of India, there's other words in every state. It's like very different across the world, and in different places what street vendors are called also. So that is quite a diverse thing, and there are many different services that they provide. When we once, in a small research that we tried to get, in my research also, I found over 1,000 types of street vendors, like, which largely are like food street vendors or something. Then within that, the pani puri wala, the vada pav wala, all of these people. So you see that there's a huge variety of products that actually and services that are coming from street vendors, which we all need, which are quintessential Indian culture. What would you say to somebody that who goes out of India? Let's say they'll miss pani puri, right? Because you don't get anywhere. And that also everywhere is has different names. It's golgappa somewhere, somewhere is puchka. So that is how we are by default. Diverse, uh, decentralized, and micro businesses across the country. That's how it was set up. As a matter of fact, historically, what would the first bazaar have been? There is a general consensus that there was no formalization of shops. Earlier, there were just bazaars that came and went, and that was completely based on street vending. So, this is like in time since the beginning of civilization, we have had street vendors. It is a unfortunate thing that it only till recently till 2014 January we could not formalize or even recognize them legally that this is a legitimate thing. 80% of our fruits and vegetables is all coming from street vendors. They are the link between farmers, the small and medium scale industries, the cottage industry. The farmer actually, which is the in the informal economy, the second biggest group is street vendors. The first biggest group is farmers. But farmers are completely dependent on this street. I mean, not completely dependent. What I mean is farmers' distribution system is this. And isn't it great that you get lakhs of products like the machhar wala marne wala bat, right? The mosquito killing bat se lekar your balloons, your toys, and your 80% of your vegetables and fruits. We don't really buy from big shops. And there is a reason, because they're at your doorstep. They come to your house. They're the nearest everywhere. So it's such a great decentralized distribution system. And I'm focusing on decentralized because I'll bring it up in questions why it is so important to be decentralized. Last mile distribution system, right? To your house. A lot of people, if you allow vending people, they will come to your house and they will give it to you. They will come to your door and do that. In Bombay, where they have flats, the food vendors in particular areas regularly come to your flat to sell chaats because it's a chaat day. The idli walas come, they have a special horn, and you by that sound you know it's the idli wala. That's our culture, and that is what we are trying to promote, that these businesses are done by very small humble people who just want to earn a living. And why should we not support them? We should definitely support them. We should have official policies supporting them, because one, this is not just individual few people, this is a huge group. 20 crore people daily sustenance is based on this, and they are not a loss making enterprise. This is the retail business. So let's compare a bigger retail business. How much money did Amazon make till date in India? Not a dime. They're in losses, big time losses. Their losses are, if you Google right now Amazon profits, you will get a good narrative about how Amazon have lowered their losses. Now they are doing only 22% loss. While street vendors, all these people have always worked in profit from day one. They're working in profit. Even in the credit system, they're working in profit. Because 4 crore street vendors, if we consider them earning even 2,000 rupees as turnover per day, which is an average, because some businesses like, let's say ironing has a different income, but a garage wala has a different income, and food vendors have different income, but an average of it's a consensus that also has a research that 2,000 we can assume rupees per day as an average income of all street vendors. That would be 8,000 crores daily turnover. That's a huge industry. Nobody has that. Even Tata doesn't have. So this is a industry that employs 4 crore people, biggest employer. 20 crore people dependent on it, completely works in profit, very less loss, and loss is very quickly absorbed. What a wonderful sustainable business. Plus, sustainable in financial terms, sustainable in environment terms. Most of the things that street vendors do is so economical. I mean, I can give this lecture for 5 hours, honestly. So I will try to wrap it up. But it's so economical. They use less water. They use less fuel. The delivery systems are used on labor. Uh, that they are very green. They use minimum energy to do whatever they're doing to put all their services. Exactly. Amazon can bear to make losses as well. But the point is, if you're going to centralize this entire business, right? And you are, this is to 4 crore owners. From 4 crore owners, you will make how many owners? 5, 7, 20. How many owners? Some shareholders, right? And the few board members, they are the owners. So it's completely centralized. While the income here is distributed. And that would be our question further. That what kind of development do we want to see? Do you want to see 100 crore entrepreneur or 101 crore entrepreneur? That is the question. I've shared a video. I will share it with you later on. One of our supporters, he's an ex-army person. He's given a wonderful talk on this street vendors law. And you should see that talk also. I will forward that link. He has made an emotional argument for street vendors, while I'm making an economic one. So it's quite sustainable. Look at Flipkart. Flipkart is $1 billion loss. $1 billion loss. 10 years of operation plus. Not made a dime. So what is the point of centralizing so much business, taking away business from all these people, the small shopkeepers, the retailers, and then not making money? And you're not even making money for a lot of people. You are just like centralizing it, disrupting the system, and then taking something good that was already decentralized, and then making it more power centered in the hands of few people, economic power in the hands of few people, while making losses. That's absolutely stupid to me. It's bonkers. So why would we support such kind of system? Instead, we'll have a micro business or decentralized system which would serve many and more people.